Hello. All right. I think we're live, Kevin. Sorry about that, folks.
Are we live?
I think we are. Let's see my. Oh gosh. Sure, do a little sound check. Say something smart, Kevin.
Potato.
Potato.
I don't know. I get caught up in the moment.
All right. Oh, you know what? We're getting a lot of air.
That's the worst.
I'm sorry for anybody who may be watching, expecting us to go on a half hour ago. It's 100% Kevin's fault. I was here ready to go, and you know, Kevin was just dragging his feet.
I had diarrhea.
He had diarrhea all over the bathroom.
I'm really excited to do these jump squats.
Kevin is going to do extra.
Squats?
Yeah,
I already
extra
did
stuff.
extra squats. That's
Extra
all.
squats. Oh, there we go. Kevin, are you popping? Pop locking?
Popping?
Pop locking?
Popping. What does that mean?
Popping and locking?
I can't dance.
You can't dance?
No.
That's not true.
That's
I know you can dance.
No, you know I can't dance.
You do that little wiggle thing.
Oh, that's not dancing.
No, I mean, I was trying to be generous
That's just
to you.
what you do in the club when you can dance. Give 'em some of
Please
this.
stop doing that.
Give 'em
Like
some
this
of
is actually going to be
I
on
call
the internet
this
forever.
I call this day one Iron Man. You know, when he's like trying to figure out how to fly.
You look like that's how Squidward would dance.
I stole this from my buddy Jeremy, who used to do this when he was really sleepy and we were doing chemistry lab reports in college. And then, but he was really good. He would shimmy and he would go.
Oh, I just heard that. I don't know if you heard that at home, but there was some serious popping going on right there. And I would have been proud of that.
Shimmy,
That
and bring
popping.
it back up. There we go. We're dancing. We're shimmying down and then straight up. It's very difficult to master without having your knees blow out.
Good times.
Is this proper squat form?
What's that?
Is this proper squat form?
Yes, it is. But you need to have 500. I was watching gym fails.
Ugh, that's the worst.
Man, there was one video and they didn't show the end of it, but it was this guy. So there were two guys.
Was he suicide gripping a barbell?
No. So this was actually better. It was one guy. So he was at a squat rack, and one guy had like 350 pounds on the squat rack. So there were like whatever 3 or 4 plates are on either end.
Uh-huh.
So imagine you're in your squat rack, right there, right? And I'm here doing something with like a kettlebell.
Why?
Because I'm stupid, right? And so what do? You're done with your squat, you decide to
Pass out?
No, re-rack your weights,
Yeah.
but you unload the bar all on your right side. And so on the video, no. So on the video, you're taking the plates off the right side. What's going to happen to the plates on the left side?
Oh, yeah.
They fall on the dude's head. But they don't show that part. But it's like they stop it right at 3 plates while they're like on their way down.
That's really embarrassing. I've done that actually. When I was in like Shanghai or something, and there was just like they had a gym set up that not a lot of people used, and there was just weird equipment, and I'm used to like barbell racks or squat racks, not squat racks, bench press setups where like the place where you put the bar is like way out here.
Yeah.
But this one was like
They're very narrow. It's like, you know what it is? Like the old, like if you got something, like the Weeder, like you got it from Sports Authority,
like
and it's like the narrow little
like,
posts.
one that's trying to like save space instead of being a good safe bench press.
Yeah, but it's such a narrow point.
Yeah.
If you take one plate off, the other one goes crazy.
Yeah, because normally like you can have like
Yeah.
at least two.
On those
I've
really
never,
wide
yeah.
industrial ones,
I
yes.
haven't
You
like.
should be able to, unless you're putting 4 plates on.
Yeah, it should be like
Which-
3
yeah.
or something, but I've never gone past 2. But like I made that
Never
same
had that
mistake.
problem, that challenge.
Well, after the first time it happened to me, where I was like at this place where I had like a plate and a half or like 2 plates on one side or on both sides, and I took one off and the thing just went whack.
You can get whacked in the face.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you don't even have to have it fall on you, just having it whack.
Yeah.
That's not the way you want to go out. There was another one where the guy does it wasn't a power clean, it was like a regular clean. But he gets it over his head. I guess it's a snatch. And he goes low, like he looked like he knew what he was doing. Until the moment where the bar kind of like came back, and it made him, it like dropped down on his head, like on his neck, and then he did this somersault, but the weight is like still pinning him, so he like slides along the floor.
My favorite thing is, you know, like the cable pull down machine?
Yes.
Like, I've seen videos of guys, and I've done this too, but where like you grab a really heavy one over here, really heavy one over here, and use it as like an anti-gravity machine.
Yes.
You just, just jump up and down. It's probably not worth being that guy in the gym, but if you're visiting someone else's gym, you should totally do it. It's really fun.
They had one video I saw that the guy was doing like really heavy stack. He's pulling down, and then his buddy jumps on and starts doing pull-ups on it, his skinny buddy.
Yeah, or like if I do lat pull downs, one thing I enjoy doing is on the last one, just like relaxing your legs and letting the weight pull you up out of the seat.
Well, usually they have that little bar that goes across your neck, right? And it's supposed to lock you in.
So you just like release it and it's fun. And an otherwise not very pleasant gym experience. But actually I miss the gym, that's not true. That was a lie. I really like the gym.
You don't like the gym, or you do?
I like the gym.
You like the gym?
I like being around people that I don't have to talk to. No, like it's a social experiment, or not experiment, experience where like people are doing stuff, and you know you still gotta like be polite, you like make eye contact, and there are like social things that like you know help you stay sane. But then like you go and you still like it's time for yourself, but you still get to be with people. Like,
what about like you ever find yourself getting annoyed because somebody's like on a piece of equipment or
do something else?
Yeah, but that's what you want to do.
Why?
I don't know. I guess you just have a different perspective. You're just like, I want to do something else.
Want something else?
There's some people where I'm like, I want to do that.
Then, if your gym is constantly full, go to a more expensive gym. Like, if you don't like people, go to an expensive place. Less people go to those places. You know, if you do like people, like I like, you know, like neighborhood gyms, like regular places where like people go after work and they're just like $20 a month. You know, like for everybody, like everybody can afford it.
Now, have you ever tried like a CrossFit?
I went when I was in Indianapolis. I trained with Frank Dennis, who wasn't CrossFit, but it was like CrossFit style. And that
CrossFit-esque.
Yeah, where it's like it was CrossFit, but he didn't pay the licensing fees or whatever.
It was like X-Fit.
Yeah, Quantum Fit actually, and that was really fun. I like that a lot.
Which is crazy because the fee is not that much, I understand, right? Like it's, or maybe it used to be not much.
I went there for free, so I don't know. I was teaching or helping do jiu-jitsu there when I was like a purple belt. But I don't know, how much is, like NC Fit is CrossFit, right?
Yes.
That's, have you been there? I haven't been there yet.
I have been to, well, I did a couple self-defense seminars.
Well, we taught that. That was different.
Oh, you mean to go, I mean, I thought you were asking, have you ever been in one?
No, like have you,
have I ever actually, yes, I've been, my buddy who I used to do jiu-jitsu with, Keith, he opened up a CrossFit gym. And so when I lived back in New York, I was going to his gym for a little while.
I really like it. It beats you up though. It's like, it's intense.
You know, every gym is different, right? It's just like jiu-jitsu. Like some places are going to be ultra competitive. It also depends when you go.
Yeah.
There are certain time periods where, you know, people are more or less experienced or intense or whatever. So, I mean, I thought it was pretty laid back when I was there. I never really got into it enough to be like trying to set records or get on the board, you know?
Yeah. What I really liked is when I started, there was that meme that like CrossFit people don't know how to do things safely.
Yes.
So everyone was super focused on safety.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
They didn't want to be that gym.
There was this, you know, we were talking the other day about, yesterday about like, you know, media and news, and it reminds me of like, because CrossFit went through this whole thing where somebody said they weren't safe, right? I think it was like one of the national accreditation places or whatever, or societies or whatever it was.
Like societies are safe?
What's that? No. They were saying there's like one of these fitness, like training governing bodies, I think, and they were like, yeah, we think CrossFit is unsafe. You know, it's over for a lot of people because it's just the type of movements and there's a lot of accidents and people are getting injured, and the media picked up on that.
Yeah.
And they really, you know, in CrossFit, I mean, they've had other problems over the years, and recently especially, but, you know, they really suffered, I think. And I think they wound up suing and winning and showing that, like, whatever the statistics that group was using was totally wrong.
Well, the thing is, like, if you're a popular thing, you're going to have a lot of people doing your thing.
Yes.
You're going to have a lot of people who are bad at doing your thing. And
it's just that, you know, in the normal course,
yeah.
you know, if I go and run, it's like I started running in the hills.
Yeah.
You know, one month I decided, like, I want to go up and start running up the hills. And what happened? Like, I pulled my calf muscle and I could barely walk.
Yeah.
Because why? Because I didn't work my way up into the...
Yeah, it doesn't mean running's bad.
No, it's not like, oh, the hills should be leveled and no one should ever run again. It just means, no, Rich Jackson is a little bit of a moron. And he should have picked some smaller hills to run up to the first couple times.
I like the conclusion from that hills are bad. We should destroy all hills. So if anyone runs up them, they won't get injured.
All hills should be made flat.
Nerf the hills.
But it's also like, you know, like one of those things where there's a study or something, like a lawsuit or whatever, and then of course that gets picked up.
Yeah.
And
well, it was just like, for a while it was just so easy to shoot.
I'm surprised that there hasn't been anything about jiu-jitsu, knock on wood. I'm surprised there hasn't been some sort of like, the problem of jiu-jitsu.
Well, we had our sex scandals. Not we, but
that is not in any way specific to jiu-jitsu. That is a general thing that happens when people have positions of trust, and you know, you have teachers and you have students.
Yeah.
You know, you have mentors and you have mentees. I mean, some unscrupulous people are going to take advantage of that relationship.
But it was still, I think, a stain on the overall.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's actually gotten to the point now where I think people don't even really, you know, you had the whole De La Riva thing, and people just kind of shrugged at that.
I don't know what the De La Riva thing is.
You don't know?
I mean, I've heard that De La Riva has a thing, but I don't know what his thing is.
So the thing is that one of his top competitors, female competitors, basically alleged that he like sexually assaulted her. And of course he denied it, and she left, she quit. And this wasn't like just some random, it was like one of his premier, like one of the top people, like world champion in his home gym. And she basically just laid it out, said he sexually assaulted me, took advantage of me, and this wasn't the first time. And he denied it, and then he kicked out all women from the academy.
That's a solution to that problem?
I think because his wife was basically like, or whatever. I don't see the logic of it otherwise. I don't know that to be true, but...
I mean, that's a man who, I don't know, sounds like he values something else more than his business, but...
risky business.
Yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, I think there's also a line that sometimes instructors lose kind of sight of. You know, even when it's not necessarily like a sexual, like non-consensual thing, there's also, I think, a line of, you know, like when I was a teacher, you know, when I taught grad school, I was teaching undergraduates, you know, and there should be a line in my mind of like, you shouldn't date the people that you're teaching.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not saying this is like, it should be against the law. I just think it is like an ethical thing.
Morally speaking.
If I have this type of relationship
yeah.
where I have control over something that you want, like a good grade or a belt promotion or whatever it is.
Attention.
I shouldn't, whatever it is. You know, I don't want to have, you know, I'm not maybe I'd feel different if I wasn't, you know, married with a family, but.
No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. I'm just saying maybe I would, but you shouldn't. right? It didn't matter when I was in grad school,
Yeah.
but you know, it's one of those things that people lose sight of. It's like in the office sometimes, you know, when the boss starts dating.
Yeah, I mean that's.
You know, within the office.
What
Not
about,
against the law, but I mean, it's not. There's definitely some problematic issues there.
So like that's kind of it's easy to say things like don't sleep with your students or don't date your students. But like, what about like all of my friends are also students here. Not all of them, but most of them.
Sure.
Like, is that inappropriate? Like what?
Like your friend, having friends.
Well, because like they're part of my social group, but also like I have this belt, I guess. Like they, I mean, I'm involved in their life. I'm involved with the thing that they want. Is it like should an instructor like have a barrier between their students and their like,
Some people have said that they think there should, like there's I know I'm not going to mention names 'cause I don't think it's wrong, but I don't want to call anybody out. They have an informal but strict kind of policy that they follow, where they don't mix with their students.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they don't ever do anything with them. They just, there are official functions. But like for example, I wouldn't want to like go out to a dinner and have students buying my dinner for me.
Yeah.
Like the thing that I always would say is that it's like when I was a lawyer, I would get invited out to lunch all the time by vendors.
Yeah.
People who wanted to, basically help me with the cases, whatever. And I would always insist, and this was the rule anyway, but like, I have to pay for this.
Yeah.
Because if I go with you, it's not going to be because, and I want to make it clear, it's because you're buying me this or you're giving me lunch or whatever, but because you're actually doing something that I think is going to be helpful to us, and it's a good price,
Yeah.
But yeah, getting the freebies from your students, it doesn't seem like so horrible, but I think over time it can be a really corrosive thing.
I'm not talking about like getting freebies. I'm talking about like forming emotional attachments, like caring how someone's doing.
No, I think that's fine. I think like a good teacher should have a feeling of caring about your students. I think it's important, but what you have to guard against, and this is something that is very difficult, is developing into some sort of relationship where you're deriving some sort of financial or pseudo-financial benefit from the relationship.
Yeah.
People buying you stuff or giving you things or
definitely don't do that.
doing favors for you.
Well, I'm thinking about like the gradual development of significant feelings.
Oh, you mean like romantic feelings?
Yeah. Like, cause it's cool to have friends. Everyone should be able to have friends, but like you can't help who you fall in love with necessarily.
That's not true. You can. But
I mean, you can remove yourself from the situation, but like, if you're around a person, like
Yes.
you have feelings.
Yeah.
You don't decide what feelings you have. Like, is that appropriate? Like, if it's
I'm not going to say that when two people
like two adults,
but it's one of those things where I think it's fraught with peril.
Yeah.
And not to say I have a really good friend, and he met his wife at jiu-jitsu, and they are happily married, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
They've been that way for a long time. I thought he was crazy, because usually these relationships do not work out, and they usually end in tears and repercussions and recriminations.
Well, that's true.
And protective orders and, so, and a lot of hurt feelings where people can't, because what happens is, you have two people, they both love the gym, they get into a relationship, it's all like, honeymoon for a while, and then it falls apart, and then the gym now gets kind of, people have to start picking sides and who's gonna,
and that's
it's who gets the kids,
That's how new gyms are created. Everyone picks sides.
Or people just quit,
other,
or people just quit jiu-jitsu.
They go and they're like, we're gonna have our own jiu-jitsu with blackjack and hookers over here, and it'll be fine.
I've seen a lot of weird stuff and bad stuff that happens. It's not terrible stuff, but just like people who, they had a nice thing going, and then they get in a relationship inside the gym, and then it all falls apart.
Yeah. But it works. It can work.
I mean, rarely.
Yeah, but that's true of all relationships.
Yeah, that's true. That's also true. Yes. That's true.
You know, if you think it's going to be worth it, you know, if you're an adult, you can do it. But yeah, the consequences are pretty real.
It's just, I mean, any breakup is going to be potentially messy. But even if you don't break up, that can be potentially messy.
But if like, at least for me, I went through this, where like jujitsu was my like emotional crutch and outlet, and then like when the breakup happened, then like I couldn't go do the thing that made me not miserable.
Yes.
And that was extra bad.
Yeah.
So, but it took a while. It was fine eventually.
I mean, like I said, I don't think
it was awkward.
I don't think that dating within the academy is a preferred option to me. And like I said, it's not a hard fast rule. I'm not like, but if someone said to me, "Hey, Rich, I think that he or she is cute. Do you think, you know, should I ask him out or whatever?" I'd be like, probably not. No, I'm not telling you not to, but like, I'm just cautioning you.
I think for me, it was the choice between doing jujitsu all the time and not having a girlfriend, or having a girlfriend. That was the choice. And then I found this little hack where I could do jujitsu all the time and have a girlfriend.
I mean, it was like awesome.
But the requirement was that she had to do jujitsu, and otherwise, like.
Now, did she actually want to do jujitsu?
Oh yeah, I met her at jujitsu. So it was like.
Well, sometimes they're at jujitsu, but they don't really want to do jujitsu.
No, I dated her when she was like, I want to be a purple belt eventually. And I was like, cool, like I think she'll do this for a while.
Right.
And then it was nice. It was a like good relationship, and then we graduated and we moved on, and then it was It was
so this was in school.
Yeah, and so it was like at the club, but like it was still like I couldn't go there for a while. Yeah. It was super uncomfortable.
Yep. For sure.
But I mean, I wouldn't. Looking back, I wouldn't make a different decision. I don't think, but it was very.
Well, it's not like you moved in with her and you got married and you had kids or whatever, right?
Well, we didn't get married. But
What? Wait, what?
Nah, it was fine. What am I on? Did I do push-ups? I'll just do push-ups. It's fine.
I mean, I think there were actually, when at my firm, there were a bunch of associates. I shouldn't say a bunch, but there were a different couples who wound up pairing off.
Yeah.
And one of them had almost always left the firm.
Like after they broke up, or
no? Like some of them got married, whatever. But like there was a lawyer and a paralegal, and they got married, and they were still married.
Yeah, but it's like we can't spend.
But once that happened, they got to go. Yeah, somebody's got to leave, because otherwise it gets really because there's allegations of favoritism and whatever. So it's a professional thing. That's more like no one's going to sue you because they didn't get their. Oh, maybe they will. Yeah. Eventually, one day we'll have a lawsuit over a belt promotion.
I do feel weird about like because I've given belts to people that I consider friends.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like.
The friend belt.
Yeah, it's like, did I do this because I think that they like deserve it objectively, or am I giving it to them because I really, really like them?
Yeah.
And like they've done all the things that I look for, and like.
Because they're my friend and I.
Yeah. So
like them.
And they know me well enough to know what I look for, and like in reality, it's just like they're really good at Kevin Jiu-Jitsu, but like it's nice having like you here and Gene here, and you can like
some look objectivity.
At it. Yeah, you know, or at least like a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah.
Which is nice. That's why I always ask people before I give them belts too.
Well, it's just a good thing to do.
Because if they're like, nah, it's going to be weird if you're my person, we like spend all time together. I don't want that. And like, you know, I don't want to force that on a person, or like make them into a situation where they have to be like, hey man, like, I don't want this belt. You know, that'd be the worst. That's uncomfortable.
Wait a minute, who's giving up the belt?
Like if you give a belt to a person, they reject it. They're like, hey, like I don't want to, like no offense, like it's nothing to do with you. Well, it's everything to do with you, but not anything to do with like the quality of your skill. It's just like, you know, it'd be weird. You should give the person the option to say no when you promote them, I think.
I would say that you generally should not promote somebody who needs an option.
Everyone needs an option. You should promote anybody?
No, I'm saying like, if the question is like, all right, here's this person, and they are training with, and I have no problem with anybody training like with other gyms or doing other stuff, like whatever, you're an adult person, do whatever you want. But if I'm like, I don't know who you want to be promoted by, then maybe I just won't promote you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're,
Yeah.
I think if you're, and there's nothing wrong with this, but if you're kind of training at a bunch of different places.
Yeah. Unless you've had that conversation.
Unless you've had, like if you go to somebody and you say, Rich,
Yeah.
you know what, you know that I'm training over at this other place, and I do that for X, Y, Z, whatever the reasons are, which, whatever. But I really want this to be my home academy, and I really want you guys, or vice versa. Hey, I just come here for lunch. I love rolling with you guys, but my home academy, and hopefully you respect that. But please don't promote me because I just want to be. I want to get promoted by these guys.
Yeah.
No, I would personally not have a problem with that, but I'm sure there are people who would not like that. In which case, maybe you don't train there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, because I think it's totally fair for an instructor or for a school to be like, hey, if you're one of our people, you got to be one of our people, and we'll promote you because you're one of ours. If you don't want to be one of ours, then go and get promoted somewhere else.
This is the thing, like I don't consider a person one of ours until they've told me that. Like even if they're like paying dues, like then it's like, you know, if you're a white belt, like you're paying dues here, that's great. We're glad you're here, but like, you know, we need to have a conversation before the promotion happens.
I mean, it could be a very generalized promotion too, or a conversation of like, hey, you know, like you're getting pretty close, and I just want to make sure it's something that you really want, or if you have other plans. Like, yeah, you should have that kind of line of communication open with your students.
Yeah. Or try to.
Or whatever. I mean, you can never know. But like, I would be pissed. Not pissed, but like annoyed a little bit if I were like, here's your promotion, and they're like, oh no, didn't I tell you? I trained somewhere else, and I want to get promoted over there.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like a little bit like, I wish you would have told me.
And that's what I want to avoid. And it's like, and it's not their fault if
it is their fault.
I don't think so, because people don't wake up and they understand that they have to have this conversation with people. Like, people don't know the culture about belt promotions, right? That's our responsibility.
When you first walk in the gym and you've never done jiu-jitsu before, yes, you don't understand, but then you're not in that position. After you've been training for a year, 2 years, you know what's up. You know what you should know what's up.
You kind of know that there's like an idea of politics, but you might not know the intricacies of how to like engage in this sort of communication without upsetting someone.
Well, I think, I mean, if you're at an academy where you are pretty sure, like, I think you can get a sense of how people are. And
are you talking from the student or instructor?
From the student's perspective, right? Like I knew from, you know, at the places I trained at, that if I went somewhere else, like, that was going to be seen as not a problem, but like
a thing to know.
I mean, it would not be smart. It wouldn't be, you know. And the thing, I don't want to make it too big of like a thing about it, right? Like, it wouldn't be like this. You're excommunicated from the gym because you went and trained somewhere, but it would like raise eyebrows. Yeah. And so it's fine if you're like, hey, you know, my work changed and I have a schedule and I'm over here, so I'm going to train over there. And you know, usually I'd be like, for me personally, I would always ask my instructor anyway. I'd always be like, and that never happened, but if, you know what I mean? Like, I remember when I was doing Taekwondo, and I wanted to start doing Jiu-Jitsu, I went to my Taekwondo instructor and I was like, I love Taekwondo, I love what we're doing here, but I want to do some groundwork. And he proceeded to show me some dodgy, not very effective ground stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go over to this other place that actually does groundwork. And then, but I still went back to Taekwondo, right? I still kept training until my contract was up, and then I didn't sign up again. Because you kind of realize.
Man, it makes you wonder why people are so like testy about people going and training in other academies.
It's money. it's just money. I mean, there's also a part of it of like, if you've really, you know, coached somebody and brought them up. To have them, then it's not always about money. Then it is about a personal thing. Like, I've invested in you, and I thought we were a thing, you know. And then if you just leave, like, I think it's fine. Like, everyone has a more or less enlightened view of this. And some people can't get over it. Like, if I've taken you from white belt to purple belt, and then one day you walk out the door for no good reason that you've told me, and you go start training down the street, I'm gonna be like, if you have now everyone's different. Some people, it doesn't matter what you say, they're gonna be pissed because you hurt their feelings.
Did you hear about the issue with Don Hoskins?
No.
I guess like I don't know if I should name names, but I guess like an instructor at an academy somewhere like had trained with this girl who I think was the daughter of another black belt who's in the area, and this little girl is like trained at this academy, the first academy with this guy, bad guy we'll call him, and and I guess she, to quote the other person, like outgrew the academy and went over it and is now like medaling and doing very well for herself.
Sure.
And not naturally, not of course. So
as a consequence,
the first instructor is very, very upset. And but unfortunately, I guess from the story that I've heard, he dealt with that by drunk calling the girl's father and proceeded
the
to
black belt, the older black.
And proceeded to use racial epithets and all sorts of just like, talking about how this guy's daughter is not a winner and like is going to lose one day, and just like really negative. And
this was her former instructor.
Yes. And
this wasn't even like an ex-boyfriend. It sounds like an ex-boyfriend thing,
Yeah, it sounds super weird, and it's like, but at the same time, like, if you like basically helped raise this kid, and now she's over here winning, I would be butthurt about that. The way he handled that butthurt is like not good, not good at all. So now it's like raising the question of like, is there an issue of racism in jiu-jitsu? Like, if someone, like if a black belt behaves in that sort of way, like what should there be consequences for that? Like how does the community handle that? Like, is that something that can be forgiven? Is that something that just needs to be addressed and like communicated about and like made sure it doesn't happen?
There's this, and I get it. There's this attitude in jiu-jitsu about students and about athletes, and school owners or coaches or black belts often behave as if they own their students and their athletes, right? Like, I raised you and I taught you everything you know and I supported you, right? Which, I mean, look, yes, that could be true. I mean, there are instructors in schools who take care of their students and help them, get them jobs and help them with their housing and stuff like that. But, the end of it is really that you don't own your students. You don't own anyone anywhere. And regardless of whether you supported them, they're an individual person. And, I'm sure every academy, every academy's been around for a little while, has had an example, especially higher profile academies, have an example or more of a person that they thought was theirs, they're on their team, and that person went somewhere else to grow or to find something new. And as a coach, or even as a fellow student, because I've kind of experienced this and seen this too, is you should have the perspective to say good luck, no matter how hurt you are, or how you feel, and that's totally legitimate to feel that sense of like loss or betrayal or whatever it is. You should, as a coach or a senior student or whatever it is, to say to that person, I hope you find the success that you're looking for. And because look, I mean, if you look at a lot of these, the best competitors, very few of them have grown up and stayed the entire time at their single academy. More often than not, they start off someplace, like Marcelo Garcia started off at a very small academy, like in the middle of Brazil somewhere, you know what I mean? And then went over to Sao Paulo and then joined a bigger team and then got more, like they needed to get out and get a better or a different experience to kind of reach their potential. And, a lot of these athletes are fortunate to get the support that they, like a coach should be enlightened, right? And say like, yeah, I understand, this is a small academy. You want to go win world championships, you need to it's like that's why like high school players go to college. And college players might go to minor leagues, and then from there and sometimes you're good enough you can just jump the line, but the students don't belong to you. You know what I mean? You don't own them, and the other thing is like the idea that they owe you something. They don't. And even if they do, just be a bigger person. Because, you know, it's like by wishing them luck and helping them out and being, you know, at least then, it's kind of like if you love somebody, I mean, it's very corny, but really, if you really care about that person, if they feel like they need to leave in order to get, like, okay, like, recognize that.
How do you deal with that, like, with your own goals, right? Like, because your goal is to grow an academy, your goal is to make students better, and then if you put all of your effort and all of your heart into someone, the odds of them staying get lower and lower with the more work you do.
To me, I don't have any problem with somebody who says, like, I need something different, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, you're an adult. You know, I'll try to help you if I can. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here. Like, so the problem is, like, so look, I mean, there's a couple different issues here. If you have an academy and you want it to grow, right? Trying to hold on to individual people or students, no matter what, is just going to backfire.
Yeah.
You know, like, the more that you kind of like try to maintain that control, the less pleasant the place is going to be. And over time, what will happen is, you know, people are not going to enjoy being on your mat and put up with it. And on the other hand, like, if you have an academy where, you know, people can come and go, they're treated as adults, and, you know, whatever, people are gonna feel that energy, you know. And I never felt like anybody. It wasn't like, you know, Marcelo's opens up down the street, and, you know, we have a team meeting, and people are like, oh, I don't want to see anybody in front of Marcelo's, and, you know, we hate them, and let's go vandalize his car or something craziness like that. Like, we're going to show Marcelo, you can't just open up. It was none of that, right? It was, I mean, I'm sure people weren't really ecstatic about it, but it wasn't seen as anything like, and people went over there, and some people stayed, and some people came back, and that was that. You know, there was no, you know, people were just like, all right.
Not a bunch of people, like, walking around.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that attitude was actually more impressive, you know, because it signals, I think, to the students that, like, we know who we are, right? And we're confident that, you know, we have something that's really good here. It's different from what is over at Marcelo. It's not a knock on. We're not saying that. Nobody said, like, oh, we're better than Marcelo. You know, nobody was saying that.
There's a word for that now.
What is it?
Based.
What is it?
Based.
Based?
Yeah, to be based. Like, if you're very based, then, you know, like, you can't be knocked off your base by anything. You know.
Like, I mean, I've had this conversation. You're like, oh, you were never interested to go over Marcelo. I mean, Marcelo was like I was a fanboy. Yeah. And during his, you know, heyday, was I interested? Was I like fan? Yes. But, you know, like, I was never once like, hey, maybe I should try to go over there and see what's up. Marcelo's academy, I want to get some rolls in. Because why? Because I knew that, like, Henzo's was like, as all I needed,
but
right?
You didn't want to get the experience of what it was like to do, like, naughty jiu-jitsu?
You know, so I'll tell you, I don't want to go there too far, but so when I first, this is the level of kind of control that sometimes some academy. So I was at an academy one time, right, where it was only a couple days a week, and it was forbidden. You weren't supposed to train outside of the academy.
Forbidden?
Like it was, I was told, because, you know, I had some friends in the academy who were like, shh, come train with us.
That's the thing, like, sweetens it.
Like, come on over here and train with us, but don't tell anyone, because we'll get in trouble. Because you're teaching, you know, you're training unauthorized jiu-jitsu. It was like, only should be under the supervision of a black belt, and, you know, and just like, we would come up with things and be like, well, we can't do this in class, because then the instructor will know that we're like cheating on the school by, like.
Yo, that sounds brilliant though. Like, what if, like, that was the rule, but you had the rule specifically so that people break it, and also they break it and they don't bother you about it. You know, like, it's not like, hey, can you come help us in our secret sesh?
Right.
You know, they go by themselves and they train, they, like, work on stuff, and then.
I learned more jiu-jitsu doing that type of stuff than I did in class.
Well, because a lot of people get, like, stuck on the idea that in order to be training or learning jiu-jitsu, like, they have to watch a person do a thing, they do the thing, and then they go watch more things and they do more things. When in fact, like, most of your development happens, like, while you're doing the thing. So if you just have ideas that you can work on them with a person. and that has a lot of value.
Yes.
So I think like maybe like and just like the forbidden aspect to it, like it intrigues people, you know, like maybe this is worth something. Why is it forbidden? Other people have done it, and they must have done it for reasons. And maybe the reason why it's forbidden isn't aligned with my interests, right? So maybe secret training is going to be good for me. And then, you know.
Or maybe it'll get me kicked out of the academy.
But like, I think if the rule is secret training and you just don't enforce the rule, I think that's a really good situation where you get people intrigued about secret training, but you know, the ones who do it will do it, and the ones who don't will just move on with their lives.
I think I shouldn't say every academy, but many academies have an informal kind of like training schedule.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, we don't have classes 24/7. And
But
somebody has a key, you know, if they train at their academy. I mean, I think that happens at almost all the academies I've ever been at, except for the one we didn't really have an academy at all. So, although like the guy who owned the place probably was in there training when nobody else was there.
But yeah, I have been to places where like you weren't allowed to do moves that the instructor didn't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You know, that was the thing when I was at blank academy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to do, like I was doing, because Marcelo Garcia was my hero at the time, you know, I'm trying to do like single leg X, and the guy's like,
no leg stuff.
Like, don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean, don't do it? Like, and it wasn't like I was
No.
hurting anybody or
If you don't want me to do it, tap. Like, it's fine.
It wasn't even like I was like heel hooking. Like if someone like, look, that's fine. Like, I don't even mind, because this was like 6 years, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Where, you know, heel hooks were just not, I mean, that was rude.
Yeah.
It was actually rude. It was like kind of like snap your fingers. That's what it was seen. Like, oh, I'm gonna grab your fingers or poke you in the eye. That's how dirty it was, right? And so that was fine. But like, he told one guy from Marcelo's, you know, don't do any of that stuff here. No single leg X.
Yeah. Huh.
You know,
funny.
it's just crazy. It's just insanity.
My guy wouldn't allow darces. Cause like, well, he was teaching, like if you're in side control, one of the escapes is get that underhook, come up to your knees, and finish on the double.
And you just get darce.
And so like, my buddy Evan was just darcing people, darce, every
making
time.
him look bad.
Well, yeah, Evan was his student. Like, and the only reason he didn't like it was because Evan went down to IU and was training with Greg Lucas for a bit, and then like he came back and was just wrecking shop, just with stuff that like.
This is the thing, right? Like, this is the attitude you have to have.
No,
right?
but they were all under the same guy. They were all under Kaiki. It was weak, because he was the only black belt who would come to Indiana at the time. Yeah. But this guy was still butthurt that like the sister school.
So there's always that ego kind of thing of like, I'm the man in charge and you're making me look bad, you know? As opposed to like, hey, can you show me what you're doing?
Yeah.
And let's start doing that, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him teach anybody because like he was hitting on people, and naturally people were like, what is that? Right? And so he was showing people.
Yeah.
And then,
you're showing unauthorized techniques.
Yeah, and then it was like, you know, we don't do that here. We don't know what that is. I can't verify it.
I remember one time I came back. I was in Miami and then I came back to Philadelphia. And when I came back for like Christmas or something, the instructor pulled me aside and pulled me into the back room and was like, show me what you learned. Because I had a black belt instructor. He was a purple belt.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I didn't have a problem. I mean, like, I actually think that's like
that's the way.
a good way to do it. Like, show me what you know. I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
You know, not like, hey, I don't want you to do any of that stuff because we don't know what to do against it.
Yeah.
You know, that's like that old, I don't know, I don't want to say it's old school kind of martial art mentality, but you shouldn't do things that make us look silly. While natural, you know, like understandable, but that should not be how you respond to things that crush you. Like, you should be like, I want to learn the thing that you just killed me with.
I mean, if that's your business, there should be a hint of curiosity, you know, something in there. Or it's, the whole idea of jiu-jitsu is like, what was it? Real-time problem solving with dire consequences.
I mean, the nice thing about jiu-jitsu is that now it's like totally open source, right? Like, you can go and learn from a lot of different people. And a lot of different arts, you know, not even just jiu-jitsu guys.
There's like, you can though, but there still is, I don't know. Because there are some techniques that I personally don't like, that if I see, it just like gets an emotional reaction out of me. Like it's not like a real thing. Like I'm not like, I don't really believe that it's stupid, but it's like totally stupid.
I remember, it was funny, Kyle. I was at the academy when Kyle kind of first started over at House. And I remember training with him. And the instructor at the time did not like the fact that Kyle was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And so he would tell the guys like different types of people. He didn't say this directly to me because I wasn't one of his boys, but he had an expectation that the higher belts would wreck him.
Yeah.
And he actually explicitly told people like, you need to tap him out.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, because when you wrestle, you do a bunch of things that are not conventional in jiu-jitsu, right? Because you're not as concerned about your neck and getting choked in all these positions.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where Kyle would do stuff, and he would expose himself, but he was a good enough athlete, and he was a smart enough person to like tweak it a little bit or power through it. And yes, he did get tapped out a couple times. I mean, he's just brand new, or not. I mean, he had done jiu-jitsu, but not extensively. But it just reminds me of like, okay, I can't get away with what that guy is getting away with.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm not as good. I don't have as much experience. It's like when you pass the guard and you don't even use your hands, you just let the person grab your neck. Like, that is not generally good jiu-jitsu.
That's great jiu-jitsu.
But I'm not, I'm saying generally, right? Like if you were teaching somebody how to do it, you wouldn't be like, oh, I like to take people down like this and invite them to guillotine me. Now, once you get good enough, that is genius, right? If you can pull it off. But we all assume that like, because we are not successful with something or that somebody else shouldn't do it. When in fact, that person may have some sort of skill level, experience, attributes, whatever it is, that makes that a very effective way for them to go about things. Yeah. And sometimes that kind of that unconventionality, or whatever the word is, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
The anti-meta type of...
That goes with the theme of last month. Subverting
the meta, yes.
Subverting expectations.
Now, you can tell somebody, right, these are the reasons why you shouldn't. This is the risk that you're running.
Yeah.
And you know what? At some point you've given the information. If they want to keep running the risk, okay, maybe, hey, if it works for you, it works for you. God bless you. If it doesn't, I told you so.
Yeah, like I hate Americanas, but I've met people where all they just needed to do was get to mount and they were going to Americana you, and that was all they could do, but they were going to do it.
They're going to do it to you.
Yeah.
That's like cross chokes. I can't remember the last time I cross choked anybody.
Yeah.
But there are people that are really good with cross chokes, and if they get two hands on your collar, they are going to cross choke.
Cross choke used to be like my go-to move.
It's the only thing I knew: cross choke, arm lock, triangle.
I can do cross choke from guard. I can do cross choke from mount.
That's it.
That's it.
We spent a lot of time talking about cross chokes from the mount. In fact, on the mount, there was only in the beginning, there was only the cross choke.
We had
only the cross choke. You had Ezekiel's.
Yeah.
We had these, the knuckle.
That was dirty.
But this was more to get the hands to move and the elbows to get up. But the whole idea was, you're going to open up the collar, and they're going to start hand fighting with you or pushing up on you, and then you would arm lock them. But there was no unless the person pushed up on you, there was no arm lock, and there was nowhere to take the back. Like nobody knew how to take the back.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see. Now it's like everyone. This is like not even Jiu-Jitsu 101 where you do the gift wrap and you take their back.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that, my head exploded.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That was so easy.
Yeah, like for a while, I only thought you could do gift wrap from like high side. Like I didn't realize that wherever you have access to their head and their arm and you can get their arm over their face, you can gift wrap them. It's not just like this one position.
Yeah.
Like gift wraps are everywhere.
I remember there was one guy at our gym, Gino, who was doing Kimura traps and doing from the back, like that T Kimura, I think John calls it. Just when you have this position on the person.
Oh yeah.
Right? And that I'd never seen that before. He was doing that stuff to us for months. John had showed that to him, and he would just catch. And there was actually a couple guys who would just roll for your arm, and then they would get on your back, and you'd be like, "What is that?" That was magic. That was magic that we didn't know for the first at least I didn't know for the first 10 years of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and then your game gradually changes, and then.
But the whole idea that you're passing the guard, right? And the idea is what do you do to pass the guard? so that you can get on knee on belly or mount or cross side. That's why you pass guard.
Should you teach people things that are going to be useful to them now or useful to them in 5 years or both?
I think that you have to. I think there's a difference in terms of what it is you want to do.
Good jiu-jitsu.
I mean, if you're in a sporting gym,
We're not.
where are we? What kind of gym are we?
We established this yesterday. Recreational.
If we're in a recreational gym,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think you could still be a really good gym with people that are all doing jiu-jitsu, right? Like if you're gonna play, how do I put this?
Jiu-jitsu.
All right. When it's always interesting when you train with people who are not trained because they don't do jiu-jitsu things.
Yeah.
They do. So if they don't do jiu-jitsu things, then a lot of the things we like to do when people do jiu-jitsu things to us will not work as well.
Yes.
Unless you know really what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? You can kind of manipulate that position to get them into the jiu-jitsu thing that you want them to do anyway, right? I think, it's the question of like, should I show them the vanilla jiu-jitsu of like, the person is gonna be like, a person who plays guard is just gonna be like, this, and not really have any, as the sophistication goes up, you have to become more adept and more sophisticated yourself. Because just doing the old ways of trying to like stack passing.
Yeah.
Stack passing is awesome, but there are people who play guard that you cannot stack pass them. Why? Because they have you in a De La Hiva, or they have you in a spider guard, or they have you in a spider De La Hiva.
Those would be,
Or they have a lasso, right? You know what I mean? Like, but you can't even get to the stack.
Yeah.
Because the person is playing a guard. So then you have to do something else, right? Like unless you can physically overpower that person, or you're just flat out better than they are, then you have to do something technically to get, you know what I mean? Like, there's some people you can't pass their guard. Like the chances of you passing their guard to cross side are very small. So you have to play a different type of guard or passing game to get to something. You know what I mean? Like, so, I think that's why you see people who, they're not passing across side anymore, they go to the back.
Yeah.
Because there's almost zero chance that they're in a highly competitive environment, or even any environment. If you play certain guards and you're good at them, it's very hard to pass that person's guard to cross side.
And I think that also has to do with the fact that if you're passing someone's guard, the moment you get past that 3-second clock starts, that person's going to their knees.
Yes.
No matter what. They're gonna do whatever it takes to get to their knees. So it's
in
not
a sporting, in a school where people care about giving up points.
Yeah. And
right.
So
So if you're not at that school, right, and you can, whatever your opinion is, right, of what school should emphasize, whatever. If you're at a place, just imagine you're at a place where it's mostly, you're in an MMA academy, and mostly it's wrestling.
Yeah.
Right? Doing some of the stuff maybe doesn't work as well as when you're going up against pure jiu-jitsu guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I have a guy who just
So what do you do?
he's just gonna take you down, right? He's a good wrestler, he takes you down, and then he just hangs out in your guard. He doesn't actually try to submit you, he just kind of rides you, basically, right? Just keeps you down in your back. I've had that happen, right? Where a guy, he's not actually trying to do jiu-jitsu at all, he's just trying to stay on top, and he's good at keeping on top.
That sounds like jiu-jitsu.
No, because the person was never trying to actually submit me. He was dominating, right? Because he was playing his game, which is a good game. I'm not criticizing him. I'm saying, or that approach, but I'm saying
Do you think he had the opportunity and didn't take it, or it's just
I think
he took it off the table entirely?
I think that wrestling is something. It's the same thing, kind of a similar thing with wrestling.
Yeah.
If you train all the time to pin somebody, and that's your whole thing is that guy just will never put his back willingly onto the mat. You learn some great ways to pin people.
Yeah.
But if the person just goes like this and says, "I don't care if you pin me," none of those, or very few of those things, will now work because I'm already conceding the thing that you want and have trained the most for, right? So you're like, "Hey, I have you pinned, and I'm just gonna chill and pin you for 4 minutes."
Yeah.
And that will win you a jiu-jitsu match if you can do it.
Yeah. You just get.
You got taken down. maybe the guy passes you and just stays cross-legged. He's not trying to submit you. He just.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought you were talking about just going limp with wrestlers. Like you get a 2-point lead and just like.
Well, I mean, if you teach them like how to score points, they're gonna score points on it.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying
but
is,
once they get into cross-side, like
it's-
one of the funniest things I think is like just absolutely relaxing with wrestlers, and then
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't know what to do.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like they know to hold you down real hard, but as soon as you stop trying to get up, it's like.
why are we here?
Like, and I'm not gonna fight if all you're gonna do is hold me down. Like, I'm not gonna get anywhere, and I'm just gonna get tired, and I'm gonna be
Right.
here anyway. I might as well just chill.
Yes.
So then it's like, all right, what are we gonna do? And then if you want points, and like if I'm up on points, like this person has to
Yes.
get points,
Yeah.
and they have to move. It's like okay.
Yeah.
And if I'm up on points, it's like I don't gotta move. Like
Right.
I don't have to escape your position.
So it's
You
a
gotta-
different thing too. If your purpose is like, again, you can like or not like self-defense or
Yeah.
fighting or MMA, but like if you're down on your back, let's say it's an MMA situation where you're basically getting ground and pounded,
Mhm.
right? And you're training to like you got to train to get back up on your feet and do something offensive,
Yeah.
right? You can't if you just in an MMA match if you just sit there and hold on. A lot of them they just stand you right back up.
Yeah.
Some of them they'll let you but you won't get any points. You're not going to win the match. So I don't know. I think it really depends. In general, I think you should teach the best state-of-the-art jiu-jitsu that you can.
But like state-of-the-art jiu-jitsu is useless to 90% of the people.
I don't know that that's true.
Like for the first like 3 years, like teaching someone daily or reverse daily heave, lasso the heave, like that's what I consider state of the art.
You know, the thing is that I think when people first come in, you know, if you have a school and people are doing De La Hiva and doing heel hooks and you know these kind of more advanced sporting guards,
Yeah.
then they're going to learn how to pass those guards,
Yeah.
right? You're going to learn whatever it is that is in the kind of in the system of the school.
But it's so weird. We were talking about history the other day and like why like people don't seem to know what's going on, and like it's because they don't understand the history of the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. Like people emphasize teaching fundamentals so much, and it's not because the fundamentals are important, like objectively. It's just because like we do all this weird stuff, and I think it helps to understand why we do that, and all of that is in the fundamentals. And like, sure, you can do De La Hiva and you can do a sweep off of it, but like you don't really understand De La Hiva until like you know where it comes from, or like, and that's the case for all techniques. Like everything that a person does, or everything that is considered a technique was chosen to solve a specific problem that another person was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the gradual, I don't know if it's a gradual development of it.
I mean, now I think it's impossible to have, like, there was a point where I never heard of De La Hiva.
Yeah.
And even after I heard it, it was something that nobody did in the school, right? So we never learned anything about De La Hiva. The first couple of years, I didn't have any exposure to De La Hiva, right?
But like,
But nowadays, you come into any jiu-jitsu school, someone's going to be doing De La Hiva guard.
but it's weird
some form.
because people are doing De La Hiva in schools where like knee cut pass isn't that prevalent, right? They're like do De La Hiva,
But you can
like
do De La Hiva without anybody trying to knee
yeah,
cut.
but like the reason that like
I mean, knee cutting is still a thing.
it is,
that is still
that
a-
was just like an example. Like you
Yeah.
know, people do the thing without, and I'm not like begrudging people, but I feel like it's important to kind of understand the story of the development of
Like,
all
why
the techniques.
why is the De La Hiva a thing?
Yeah, like the darts, right? The darts happened because people kept underhooking people and were escaping, and then it's like, okay, like let's solve this problem,
Yeah.
and this thing works, and now we gave it a name. It's a thing and it's a technique, but you know, and yeah, like it doesn't necessarily mean that like that underhook strategy is bad, but you know, it helps to know that like that was the reason that
Right.
this happened, so that when that happens to you, and maybe like it normally doesn't because underhooks are no longer fashionable because they don't work because of darcies, but you get that one guy who doesn't know that he'll get darts if he does it, so he does it because he's been.
And you're not ready for it.
Yeah, you're not ready for it.
You've
well,
never
like,
seen darts before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not
I
gonna.
don't think
necessarily-
darces will ever go out of style.
Well, not anymore. They're really popular. They're so useful, and they're just like, I think any sort of orientation where you have that head and arm in with the arms,
Yeah.
like none of those strokes are gonna go out. They're just so ingrained in
it'll be interesting to see, you know, like kind of the leg lock game has sort of consumed jiu-jitsu for the last couple of years. But there are people, like you see it more and more, that are really good at defending. Even if they're not so great themselves at heel hooks, they're very good at defending it, right? And it'll be interesting to see what the next iteration is. I just don't think like we're at the end of jiu-jitsu where it's like, oh, everyone knows how to do a heel hook now, we're just gonna heel hook each other.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot of people now just taking it back. They're learning how to defend and use the leg lock attacks as a pathway to the back. You know, I've seen that a bunch of times where you think you've heel hooked somebody and now they're on your back.
Yeah.
You know, that's something like Kanan was doing that. So I saw some video of Kanan, you know, taking the back off the heel hook, and of course Felipe Pena has done it, you know, to the best guy in the world twice. It's a thing. Anyway, all right, guys. Anything else?
I had a thought, but it left.
It left. Well, maybe it'll come back.
Maybe.
Sorry for the late start. Thanks for watching, bearing with us. I'll see you guys later. Peace on earth.